Welcome back, everybody, to the Auto Body Edge. Today, we have a really special guest with us, Dino Digiulio of Dino's Leaders. Dino has taught classes at FenderBender and SEMA, and he's one of the few people ever to receive the Master Elite of Shop Management Award by Management Success. He's grown and sold successful shops while helping other shop owners do the same. And in this video, we're going to be diving straight into marketing, not just flyers and websites, but the mindset behind growing a shop, standing out in a crowded market and ultimately how shop owners can work less and make more. Now, Gino, I'm super excited to have you here. Thank you for coming on. Would you mind starting from the beginning and telling us a little bit about how you got started?
Well, it was, believe it or not, it was actually losing my license for the third time and having to quit my job at a body shop and going to work for myself, living at my grandparents and working out of the barn, which is where I started. And I was already doing work on the weekends there, and then took it out of the barn to the location where we ended up selling to Caliber last year. Grew it from 30,000 a year to 3 million. And there was definitely some bumps in the road and bruises. And, I didn't have any knowingness in the beginning. I just graduated high school and went to work at a body shop for about a year and 7 months. Did take some classes at a local community college. And, but I'm like, my grandpa was an entrepreneur and I saw him do what things that he was doing. And I'm like, I got to do this. Didn't know a thing about business, didn't know a thing about finance, couldn't even tell you what a P&L was
Mhm.
in the beginning, and had to take blows and then, learn as you go. And um, yeah, marketing was key down the road, but in the beginning, I didn't even know, how to fix a car properly. Went through iCar training, went through PPG training, became a master technician in both those categories, got my shop to gold in 96 by myself.
Mhm.
Um, and then that's basically the story. Everyone says that, it came from the barn and started a business from nothing. And when I opened my doors, and went legal, like went out of the barn and got into a legit space with a legit office and a paint booth, and like I had space, not a lot. It was like 1,700 square feet. Um, that first year was definitely a struggle,
Mhm.
probably up to the first 5 years, just trying to get work and how to promote. And um, that was difficult. But, luckily income, wasn't a super big demand. I didn't have kids at the time and was able to, with training, eventually got to a point where we were doing well and needed training. So that's how the whole thing started. And I DRPs, OEM certifications, I've done it all, did it all. So
Gotcha.
today we're going to talk about marketing and
Yeah.
what made me so successful. But yeah, that's kind of the backstory, the
Yeah.
barn life,
Straight from the
taking it from
barn
nothing
to,
to,
yeah, exactly. From nothing to 3 million. I mean, that's amazing. One of the things that I have I'm fascinated in is the shift from being a tech, being actually in the shop, actually fixing cars to being the mindset of the business owner, right? I'm sure you mentioned you had to learn the hard way for that process. So what was that like? When did you feel like you needed to make that shift? Was it at a certain revenue number? Was it right out of the beginning? When did you need to make that shift from being the actual tech in the body shop to the business owner?
I think I always had someone helping me. Either it was a friend that needed a job for a couple of weeks. I always had cars to sand, and back then you did a lot of stuff by hand. So it was a lot of intense labor. So, I always had something if someone wanted to, give me a hand or help out. But I think the shift for me, and it was more out of necessity, is I ride motocross, and the trophies you see in the back are some of my trophies. There's a bunch up here, better looking ones are in front of me, but um, I broke my collarbone, and I still was the only technician. I didn't have anybody working with me. I had a helper once in a while would come in at night, but I was, they put you in a sling. They don't do anything to the collarbone. And I remember straightening a fender, and every time I hit the fender with the hammer, my collarbone went click, 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 click.
Mm.
So I had to deal with that for 6 weeks. And at that point, I'm like, this is not sustainable. I gotta start hiring people. Like I had helpers before, but I got to get more business and I got to start hiring people. And that was sort of the mind shift at that point, was more out of necessity. And, at some point I had a lot of work and I couldn't do it all by myself. And then the friends that would come in and help me at night, that was not enough.
Mm,
So between the collarbone and getting too much work, and it was not great work. It was a lot of completes and and that's tedious labor. And
yeah.
we lived in Sonoma is a wine community, and there's a lot of workers that have beat up trucks, and we would run paint specials, completes basically for like $300, and the product cost me like $60 for a gallon of paint, and really inexpensive product. But it took their truck that was multiple colors, and we
Mm,
had a brilliant blue, we had a teal, and these are all metallic and a red, and it basically sand and scuff and shoot, and we can get them done in a day, and it kept us busy, and it was basically cash coming in, and the workers were so happy, and they were like, man, it looks so good, it looks way better. And these are trucks that are in the vineyard getting dirty all the time, so
yep.
they were just happy to have their truck or their car one color,
Mm,
you know.
gotcha. Yeah. So, I mean, what was there one lesson you might have taken from that you give to the smaller shop owner that is the shift from tech to business owner? Is there one big
Oh yeah.
takeaway that you had there?
I, I think
Especially,
I
oh,
think
sorry.
once I started hiring, um, you could see that you could produce more sales, which would produce more income, and I could make more money with actually physically working on cars. And I was not, mind you, I worked in a body shop for a year and 7 months. I was not a journeyman technician at all. Like
Mm,
I could not, I was like maybe a C plus tech. And the way the guys were fixing the cars then was not how we fix cars today. And as I started taking iCar classes in the early 90s, because I opened my doors at the location we sold in 1990. And then, I'm like a friend of mine that was my painter that I worked with at the other body shop. I met him at a car show, and we were just talking, and he was telling me about iCar, and he's like, you need to do this. And so once I started getting training, then I knew who to hire, right? Because
mm,
I was not a technician. And even though I took the classes, I was not great at metal straightening because I hadn't done it long enough. But I knew if I hire the right people, and that's like they can fix the car, I can get a painter. And that's the other thing too, is like I'm in the booth painting and my phone rings.
yeah.
I had to stop what I'm doing, answer the phone because I was everything. I was the estimator, the body guy, the detailer, the prepper.
Mm,
And, so there was no real big shift in what I was thinking. It was more like necessity. Like I got to hire somebody.
yeah.
Whether I can afford them or not is another thing, but I need somebody.
Was
So
there one key hire you made that really helped you? You've mentioned to me that the shop owner who's glued to their shop, right? The person who can't get away. Is there one hire that has really helped an owner like that who's been glued to their shop maybe take some more vacation time or get to that point where they can be working on the business rather than, you know, tied in so many different directions?
yeah, I don't think it's any one hire. The
Mm,
shops that I work with now, it might be one person we got to get in there to free up the owner to get him out of the front office. Um, so when I started my coaching with management success in 2008, the first conversations with my coach, and I thought I knew it all. Like I didn't know anything, but I'm like, I got to get some help.
mm,
And when you start talking about what your day is like, I didn't take any vacation. Only time I took off was maybe an extended weekend, go off early on Friday, and then a holiday with Labor Day and Memorial Day, shop was closed anyways. Those were my vacations. And I had two young boys. And I'm like, this has got to change. And this is why I ended up getting help, is because I wanted to change and I didn't know how to change and know what to change. And this was everything with the business. And I didn't even know I had a marketing problem, because we were doing like that point, like 1.5.
mm,
We picked up AAA. We were the first DRP for them in 97. And I think around 2000, before 9/11, we picked up USAA. And that was great because back then there was no aftermarket parts. It was all OEM, paid us a fair labor, and we killed it. Like we did well. We did well with our cycle time. I'm OCD when it comes to anything. My house, my garage, my shop, everything was always clean, floors painted, organized, but not truly organized. We can get into that's a whole nother topic. But
mm,
I think training was key for me and anybody, because if an owner's struggling, there is key hires. You know,
Mhm.
if you're inside the business, like an estimator, I have a friend that's a technician and he has a whole front office staff that manages the store. He likes fixing cars. Like he
Mhm.
loves it. But he
Yeah.
don't have to go to work every day. You know, he makes sure his cars, whatever he's done is done. And if he's like, I'm not coming in today, whatever cars come in the door, give them to the other guys.
Mhm.
And that's how and he does very well. His son actually is the manager now of that location. So I'm not, it doesn't matter to me where you want to end up, but the reality of it is as an owner, you need to get the business to a certain level of profit so you can put people in place that you don't have to do those tasks. I mean, we all have accountants, we all have bookkeepers. You know, you might even have a customer service person up front or an estimator. You might have a technician, painter, maybe a detailer, but you just got to expand that. And most guys don't know how to get there because they don't have the money to do it. Well, why don't you have the money? What is the piece missing? Well, the biggest piece is marketing. And so my shop was doing pretty well, but I couldn't leave. Like I wasn't getting any vacation. By
Mhm.
the time I started doing the training and won those awards, the last award was in 2012, I was taking 3 months off a year and I didn't have to go into the shop. And at the time, I just kind of took it for granted because I had put so much work into this business and I was working 7 days a week in the beginning. You know, and usually Saturday, Sunday was just either cleaning the shop or getting caught up on stuff I didn't finish or paperwork. Because back then, there was no computer to write an estimate, it was all handwritten. We had these manuals that were Mitchell manuals, and we had a stack of them for each manufacturer. And it's like to write an estimate took hours.
Mhm.
So we didn't get an estimating program until we signed up at AAA, and that was 97. It was Mitchell. So yeah, I don't think it's any one person that
Mhm.
changed it. It was actually what changed it was hiring another estimator and then building an office outside the main office for my office so I didn't have any interruptions.
Mhm.
And then nobody saw me. My good customers, which I built that business, right? So this was probably year 20 or yeah, close to year 20, year 18. Customers like, where's Dino? Like every day, where's Dino? Where's Dino? Well, that took a time. And it's like my real good customers, I would walk out and then someone would come and grab me. Hey, this guy wants to talk to you. And I'm like, I just go out and shake hands, talk about whatever, kids, whatever, and
Mhm.
then hand it back over to the estimator. And that took time. And then probably 5, 8 years in, no one asked for me anymore.
Mhm.
They would ask for the manager, they would ask for Debbie, whoever was in the front office. That's the relationship they created. And that took time. It really did. But you got to start somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
I think
yeah.
a lot of shop owners might be worried about letting go of that control because I mean their name's on the building, right? There are those shops with, they literally have their names on the building, right? And they are the number one contact when it comes to talking to customers. And then getting away from that role can be tough, but just seeing that it is possible is the first step, I think, right?
Well,
Um,
yeah, they have to be willing to make a change. And
mm,
everyone talks about this as change is like the enemy. Like it's not the enemy, you know? Everything has to change for a reason. I mean, you can just look at where technology started,
mm,
you know, look at the computer and then how far the computer's come. Now we have AI coming in, and it's like things are changing. They're
yeah.
always changing, you know? So you just have to be comfortable with it.
Mhm. I wanted to really ask for your insights on the marketing piece, right? You mentioned um, you need to get your profit to a certain point to hire the people that you need, and that comes from marketing, right? So what does marketing in the beginning look like? What did it look like for your shops, or what do you recommend when you're working with a shop that hasn't run it, right? What do you say to those guys to get started with? What's important, what's not? What should they be looking for?
Well, in the beginning, you don't know, right? What you don't know. And
Yeah.
so the newspaper guy would come in and want to sell you ad space, and I would buy a little ad. But guess who designed it? The sales guy. He has sales training. He has no marketing training at all. Hey, we'll just do this, we'll do this. And the phone books. Back then we all had phone books.
Mm,
And the ads were similar. Oh, we do quality work and
yeah.
it was all the same words, sentences are moved around, but pretty much quality work is it's implied. You're going to do a great job. Like that's implied. Uh, you know, good service. That's implied. Like you can't market that. That's not marketable, you
Mm,
know? And
Yeah.
so those ads were put together by sales guys,
Mm.
while you're paying the money for the book. And we had like, I think we had like 3 phone books. And that's how people found you, because there was no Google.
Mm.
So in the very beginning, it was a lot of money spent in the wrong direction. I never did what we call B2B, or business to business relationships. I
Mm.
did join some networking groups, and that started helping, but it was such a small group of like 15, 20 people that you're not really going to hit the market hard. So
Yeah.
um, we would do newspaper ads, and it would always be one that was like, these are the ones that really got us money, which was the promotion of like bumper specials for
Mm.
4.99, which was later, and then the really cheap paint jobs in the very beginning. So in the early 90s, 3.99 or 2.99 complete paints, we would do at least two or three of those a week.
Mm.
And if I brought home $300, it made my mortgage. Um, the ex-wife at the time had a job, so it's like we didn't have to need to bring a lot of money. We had no kids, so my income demand was low.
Mm.
Today it's like $300. Jesus, that's poverty wage. But back then, that's
Yeah.
all I needed. So
Mm.
as time progressed and I got training, once we started having communication and I started getting coaching, and I did the basic 2 weekend classes, which is kind of an overrun of everything you're going to learn, and then small snippets of what you need to start fixing. Marketing was a clear uh, thing that was not working. And in order for me to hire another estimator, yeah, we're going to sell more for sure, but I need to get the word out that we do great work, where our customer service is like better than anybody else's, and we had to promote something that we had that nobody else had.
Mm.
And what that really came down to was, one of the things that we had that no one else had at the time was loaner cars. And at the time, we might have only had like five or six. They were all white. I started buying loaner cars in 95, 96, and I had a couple. They weren't anything fancy, but we were the only shop that did it. And it separated us from the other competitors.
Mm.
So I've helped a lot of shops get loaners, because if you're not a DRP driven store, and you know, I'll go either way, and I will debate anybody either way, because there are good carriers out there that have great programs, but
Mm.
unfortunately now they're pretty much all gobbled up because all the MSOs are giving such great discounts. They don't need anybody else. So, but back in the day, AAA built my business.
Mm.
We were getting, basically at that point, we were like $2 off of the labor rate, the surveyed rate for the area, and no aftermarket parts at all. They were adamant. The Recon bumper cover was the only thing they would recommend. And other than that, they paid everything. So, and they sent us a ton of work. I think at the height of us in AAA, we were doing like 1.2 million for just them. And so they helped me build my business, because guess what? Yeah, you're given a discount, but that's marketing money. You
Mm.
can look at it any way you want. That $2 discount, whatever you want to spend, they're sending me customers continually. And
Yep.
it's my job to close them, make them happy, so they tell their friends. Well, guess what? Some of them didn't have rental coverage. So guess what they were driving? My white loaner car with body
Mm.
vests on both doors. And they wouldn't park it in their garage. They'd park it out in the front of their house. And guess who saw it? All their neighbors. And after we got big enough, we started buying better cars, and we were up to 11, and people saw them all over town. You could not drive into Sonoma and not see one of our cars.
Mm.
So that was essential for marketing for us, because it separated us from our competitors. Um,
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty tangible too. Like, with the, you mentioned earlier, everybody, and I know you've told me personally, um, everybody promotes the same thing. Everybody talks about quality service. Everybody talks about customer service, five-star service, whatever. It's all assumed now.
yeah,
It's almost like we're commodities at this point. And the way that we can differentiate is by having something tangible. In this case, a rental car program that or the loaners that are actually
yeah,
something that can make a difference, right?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
They're
those are
rolling around in your neighborhood. It's like a billboard. So you want
Exactly.
clean
Yeah.
cars. We did white because they were easy to fix. We can spot in the bumpers because
Hmm.
we didn't bang on the customer if they scratched the bumper. I didn't care. Like as long as my customer was happy with the repairs, we'd walk the loaner car and we just tell them don't worry about it. But if it was big damage, guess what? We're fixing it. We're calling the insurance company. We're going to hammer them hard and we're going to do a really quick repair on the car to get it back in production.
Hmm.
So it was somewhat of profitable. And then we made enough money because some insurance companies, some customers didn't want to go through the hassle of renting a car through Enterprise or Hertz because it's a lot of paperwork.
Hmm.
Ours was one sheet, credit card, and then flip it over and initial the three coverages we don't sell. And they were in and out of the shop in our car, and they didn't care that it had logos on it, but they didn't have to go through the whole thing with Enterprise or Hertz.
Hmm.
And we would collect the money from the insurance company. So if
Yeah.
they had $25 a day, they were like, "That's fine," and that worked. So
Hmm.
we would collect enough money to cover the insurance that we cost to rent to have those cars. It's like
Yeah.
$100 roughly. I think it started out like $70, but I think when we ended up selling, it was about up to like $100 a car per month for full coverage.
Hmm.
And we had customers that totaled their cars. They got in accidents. That's what
Yep.
they do. That's why their car is in our shop now. So
Yeah.
so so that was the loaner car piece of the marketing. So I
Hmm.
already had that in when I started getting training. What I didn't understand was a very simple formula, and it's money follows attention.
Hmm.
So, like, if you look at any corporation, you can look at Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Red Bull, and Red Bull is one of the examples I'll talk about.
Hmm.
Um, it talks about percentage of what you should spend on marketing. And what do people do when things get slow? What's the first thing they cut when the things get slow?
Marketing and advertising expenses.
Yeah, because you don't see and
Hmm.
understand the need is when you need to double that. When
Yep.
things get slow, you need to double your marketing, but you should see it coming like every month around tax time. Because I
Hmm.
mean, you can make an excuse for every month of the year that we're slow. January, well, they just came out of the holidays, everybody's broke, so we're slow. February, they're still recovering from, Santa Claus and Christmas and they're paying off those credit cards. You get into March, you're approaching tax season, everyone's panicking, and so they're not spending money. And then what happens in April? You got taxes, so you're not spending money.
Yeah.
So every month, and then you got summer months, everyone's on vacation. So when are you going to be able to make money?
Hmm.
Well, if you don't market properly, if you don't market at all, then you're not going to get busy. The
Hmm.
MSOs are going to run you over. And they have. Look what Caliber's up at 1,900 stores, and
Yeah.
they're not done growing. They're growing at least one or two a week
Hmm.
you know and what do? They have all these DRP accounts. Well, that's marketing money.
Hmm.
you know they put their stores right on the freeway. What is that? That's a billboard.
Yep.
You can't miss them. They're right next to the dealerships.
Hmm.
So that's not all their locations, but most of them, especially the ones they build from brand new, they're right on the freeway. They don't want to build them tucked away because they don't spend money on marketing because they're giving such deep discounts to all the insurance companies. But
Hmm.
if they can make 10%, they're happy because they're doing something else with their money.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, money follows attention.
And then
So
sorry to cut you off here, but I remember you told me there's a number that you recommend starting with when it comes to spending on marketing, and that could be applied to any level, whether similar to the Red Bull example, right? If you're
yeah,
making $1 billion a year, you would still spend about this roughly this percent. What is the amount that you recommend starting with? And
well,
could you give us some insight there?
I think if you can afford it, you want to spend 6 to 10%.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, like I said, money follows attention.
Hmm.
And the more you spend in marketing, the busier you're going to get. So there's really not a limit, but you really don't want to spend less than 5%, 5 to 6%. When I found out, but as I was going through this, um, somebody talked about Red Bull, and it's like everyone knows what Red Bull is, right? They're everywhere, just like Monster.
Hmm.
And especially in the motocross world and extreme sports, Red Bull's everywhere.
Yep.
And Red Bull spends 30%, and they've spent 30% since the day they opened.
Hmm.
But that's $1 billion. They're doing mass amount of sales, and it's Monster is owned by, I think it's Pepsi or Coke, one of the two. But they were already spending it. You can look at a Coca-Cola logo and know that's Coke
Hmm.
because they promoted it so well. And Coke's everywhere, just like Pepsi's everywhere. Well, they do a lot of marketing. They're in the football games, the baseball games, they're everywhere. That's all marketing money.
Hmm.
And so people know what that is and they drink it, even though it's not good for us. We all know Coke is not good for us.
Yeah.
We know the energy drinks are not good for you, but we still drink it.
Hmm.
So it's essential. If a shop wants to grow, you have to spend money, right? My grandpa always told me, I was in the very, very beginning, I was complaining about something, and he's like, Dino, in order to make money, you're going to have to spend money. And that's all he said. And then he just turned around and went back to work in his garden. He was retired by this point. And that sat with me for a long time. Like, man, at the beginning, when I first heard that statement, I was like, what is he talking about? You need to spend money to make money. Well, what if I don't have it? How can I spend it? Well, this is where loans come into play to get you up and running and get your marketing going. And, you know, that's what a loan is for. The SBA is very good about that. If you want to get an SBA loan and you need to expand your business,
Hmm.
but you got to spend it to make it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the times there are those avenues that can work a little bit faster than others, right? We know from personal example, running ads on Google, we can expect to see some new jobs coming in within the first couple of months. It doesn't take it's not a long time to see a return there, but in the first 30 to 60 days, you can see at least some vehicles coming in to pay for the expense itself, right? Whether you're in the black, I mean, that's where we want to be. If you get one, even if one car coming in is going to pay for a month of advertising. So that's what we want to be able to do as well. And one of the things I wanted to um, ask you as well, I know we've talked about this, outside of this podcast, is the importance of being on Google now, the importance of having good reviews, and maybe having a landing page versus a just sending people to a phone number or something like. Where do you see where do you think body shops should be spending their money on advertising and marketing?
Yeah, well, things took a big turn because the social media like Facebook didn't exist in 2000. I mean, they existed, but they weren't really
Yeah.
in existence, right? 2010. Um, and they started to get traction by 2015. I think they were humming along pretty well. I'm
Hmm.
not sure when Zuckerberg took over Instagram, but like those two platforms are essential. There's the abbreviation for the two of them is the company that owns them, I think, is Meta. I think that's
Meta.
the right. So we always say Meta, you promote on Meta, which is both. If you promote on Facebook, it pushes to Instagram if you want it, if you set it up that way.
Hmm.
So for us in the day, we did newsletters, postcards, and very, very costly for such a little return. But we still did it because we wanted to spend our 5% to 8%, and we had a budget, and we just spent the money. Certain months we couldn't do postcards, or we couldn't do a newsletter. We tried to do a newsletter every quarter, and now you can just send emails out, so you can do
Hmm.
email campaigns with a newsletter. I mean,
Yep.
that's way cheap.
Hmm.
The other thing that we talked about earlier, not to get off this point, we'll come right back to it, is you have to do, as a body shop, you have to do business to business. We call it outside sales. And what we ended up building was a network of businesses. We had, I think, 600, yeah, 600 businesses within Sonoma that had a door we can walk into and bring them cookies.
Wow.
You can bring them whatever you want, but it was just a flyer, whatever we were promoting that month, our car
Hmm.
giveaway, whatever it is, a flyer. And then we had a retired lady that loved to chat, super chatty, smiley the whole time. She would do this in one day, 25 businesses in one day.
Wow.
Bring the cookies in a box that had our logos on it. The cookie box would sit on the counter
Hmm.
and they would just have a conversation for 5 or 10 minutes. And she's like, okay, well, we'll see you later. Have a nice day. And that not talk about fixing your car or nothing, but
Yep.
here's a flyer. Here's our special this month. And or not. It was just might have been just talking about our car giveaway program because we give a car away every year.
Hmm.
You need to do that. That's essential. It goes hand in hand with anything you do on social media.
Hmm.
So going forward from here, if you get someone, you can either do it yourself or you hire someone that's retired because it's always good to have a retired person because they don't need a ton of income. You can pay them, a salary. You can pay them whatever, a flat amount to do so many visits. Um, and then social media is huge.
Mm,
You have to do organic post, and there's websites you can buy, and you can actually program it to put out, 10 posts a day organically. You have to get material. And
mm,
I don't want to see the inside of the body shop. I
mm,
want to see happy customers picking up their cars, maybe some staff birthdays. You're giving a birthday cake to one of your staff and they're blowing the candles out, something like that. But you got to pay someone to manage your social media ads. I
mm,
don't care who it is. You do have to find a company to manage that because you don't want any part of that.
mm,
It takes a whole nother profession to do that, and you just leave it up to them. The organic stuff, you're going to have to create it and post it yourself. But the paid ads, you want it done professionally. And a website, those are the thing of the past. Like the training that I've just recently got last year was about social media and a
mm.
company that grew their company. I'm looking at a number now. In 2010, he was doing 3 million, and in 22, he did 188 million. And all of that marketing was just social media. That's it. That's it. He was spending $1 million a month. He wasn't spending $1 million a month in 2010. I
Mm,
don't think he had $1 million until 2016.
mm,
He slowly ramped up his spend ad spend every month as he had the money, he would spend more.
mm,
But it just grew his business exponentially with Meta. And I'm sure he does stuff on TikTok, but that's a manual thing because it's not an American company. You can't have a program that put in there, so that's a manual thing. And you can do it. You can go in there and post your own stuff, but I
mm,
suggest at least Meta, and you got to have a Google page.
mm,
So for the website, what I learned is only 80% they don't ever scroll.
mm.
They stay at the top. And if you have a phone number and a place to click to schedule an appointment or make a call, they're never going to look at the website. You know what they're going to look at?
Your Google
Google.
reviews. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
So, you brought up Google reviews earlier. You have to have the QR code on your phone. You should
mm,
have the QR code on your front desk for them to scan it and go right to your Google place where they can actually start writing a review,
mm,
right? Every customer that walked out the door, scan it and give me a review. And I
mm,
didn't learn most of this until the last 3 years. Got into another business that is all sales, and we have to sell new customers every single day. And we also have to grow from our business from nothing. We had to get Google reviews. I think
mm.
we're close to 200 right now.
Wow.
And it was done with that little QR code on the front counter.
Mm,
I wasn't going to ask the girls to have it in their phone or an employee, but the little scan thing you can get, it was like they were like $20. The QR code laminated to our front counter is what got us to 200 views in less than a year and a half. And we every time a customer or a member we signed up and they did a workout and they were happy and they loved it, it was a good time to ask for the review. The same thing at the shop. When a customer picked up their car and they were super ecstatic, could you please, give us a review right now? It only takes a couple of minutes, and they would scan it. So in a body shop, if you can get, two or three of these a day, before you know it, you're going to have 500. And the ones that aren't the 1 stars and 2 stars, you're going to get them. I say it makes the shop more real. If you see a bunch of 5 stars and you see 50 of them, those are all bought.
mm.
Where if
Yeah.
you have a 1 star or 2 star in there and it's like the customer's like, yeah, I picked up my car, the dash was dusty, you
Yeah.
know, okay, well, that's understandable. But if you have 500, that one or two customers that gave you a 2 star, it doesn't affect you. You'll still
Mm,
be a 4.9.
yeah.
So
Of
very
course.
critical to get reviews.
Mm. So there's definitely, we mentioned a lot there. One of the things I wanted to ask you too was the difference between traditional marketing. I feel like when a shop owner thinks about marketing, they may think of shopping carts or the advertising side of things, right? Magazines, Google ads, the website, the like. But what to you is the difference between marketing and public relations, the PR side of things? Is there a difference there? And how do you see that?
Yeah, so PR is, we always use that as a term when someone's PRing you, which means they're giving you all the best about them.
Mm-hmm.
And the person comes in for an interview, they're dressed nice, they're telling you all the good things. So when you do an interview, you have to find out all the bad things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're going to go work for the government, they're going to do a background check
Yeah.
on you, find out those bad things because you're not willing to tell people.
Mm-hmm.
So public relations is doing things in the public. And I'll give you an example. Rotary is a good one because you're out doing things, you're fixing stuff, and everyone sees it. They promote it. You're out there with a shovel or whatever. We would sell hot dogs in the at the parade and generate cash for scholarships that we'd give to kids in the high school for trade schools. I think we gave two scholarships a year away. They were 10,000 apiece. And if a kid wanted to go to, the sheet metal union and go to the sheet metal um, trade school to learn how to do that, he got $10,000. We would pick candidates and give them out. So that's a good PR activity. We built a program called Wheels to Prosper. There's a Facebook page, and we were giving cars away every year. And I got other shops doing the same thing. I think at one point we gave out over 2,000 cars, and to deserving people, not needy people, deserving people. And we had a whole event planned around it. We had the mayor come and speak. We had the fire chief or the police chief, anybody that we could get to want to come and say a couple words. We had the radio station later on come in and do a live broadcast of the giveaway. And that's just doing good, right? And those people, when you give them the keys, and there was always three or four candidates that would show up that didn't qualify, they were still good candidates. They just we're only giving one car away. We did three cars one year, and that was a mistake. It was just a lot of people, and you're giving a lot of stuff away, and it was hard to do the photos, and it was just a lot. We just do one car, um, and when you see the tears, how you change their life because they're already doing good, and now you can help them do more good because
Mm-hmm.
I can't do those things. I'm not gonna, I'm not in those. I just don't have the time. But if I can help someone do more good, then that's what I want to help, and that's how the program was came to be. It was about helping someone that is already helping other people, and they just hit a tough time. They lost their car or broke down or whatever, and in order for them to keep doing good, we need to get them a car. So that's another good thing. Some guys can't afford it. If you're a franchisee like a CarStar or a Fix, they're connected with Recycled Rides, and they do the same thing where you help with fixing the car up. The only difference between Recycled Rides and Wheels to Prosper is we gave a car to deserving people, not needy people,
Mm-hmm.
because you can find needy people everywhere and they just want a handout to some degree. Not that they're not picking good candidates. I see a lot of single moms with their young kids getting a car, and maybe they had some tough times. Maybe the husband passed away. So it's not saying that it's not a good program, but anything around doing something good in the public, right? Public eye. You could. There's lots of things you can do. Um, if you belong, like I said, if you belong to a franchise, they always have programs. They raise money for cystic fibrosis. It's a
Mm-hmm.
cancer, and they promote that. So that's PR.
Yeah.
And it's different from marketing because you're not really promoting your company.
Mm-hmm.
You're just promoting the good things that you're doing as an individual that owns the company. And
Mm-hmm.
everyone knows that you own, the body shop and you're doing things that in the public. The car giveaway, it had our logo, but it had Wheels to Prosper was the bigger banner.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know,
Yeah.
everybody in town knew that.
Yeah, definitely. And everything you're saying about social media being a huge lever, and you need to be on social, you need to be here, we need to be doing this. I think that only works if we're doing everything, right? It's not, we can't just do social media and expect to have great results, but if we pair that with the PR side and we pair that with the going out and meeting businesses, then we're going to see the momentum, right? But
Yeah.
if you're putting out a post and you don't have, you're not generating that attention or care from the community, right? That's why I think the PR side, what you're telling me, and the marketing goes really hand in hand, to be just making a great experience as a whole with your brand and your shop. So I think that's not definitely not talked about as much as it should be, because that PR
That's
side
for sure.
is
Yeah.
great. Yeah. And I mean, so to tie it all in of the topic of working less and making more, right? Could you just again summarize like the importance of all of this in that um, working less and making more thought process there? Like how does that all tie in as a shop owner, and why should they care if there's like one sentence that really summarizes it all?
One sentence that would summarize it all is most shop owners are stuck in how they were doing things, right? And they
Mm,
keep doing the same thing. They expect a different result. And I think it was Einstein that said that's the definition of insanity. And I'm sure these guys have all heard that. It
mm,
is over and over because you're trying to do the same thing and you're not changing from that. You might put an ad in the paper, you might do some social posts. I look at Facebook pages all the time from shop
mm,
owners, and it's mind blowing that the last post was 2016 or 2018. It's like you're not even utilizing your own pages to
mm,
promote. So when people go to it, it's like old pictures, and it's like you have a series of happy customers. You can
mm,
do short little reels, like it's endless, and you have all the material. You have to have time to do this now, mind you. If you're doing everything in the shop, like I was in the beginning, you don't have time to do social media and build organic posts. That's why you need to hire someone to do it. Um, but it is critical to building because once you do the outside sales, you're a Rotary Club member and you're out there doing good stuff, and people see your face with a Rotary shirt on, but they know who that is. He's the owner of that body shop down the street. And man, they do great work. That just goes hand in hand with people talking good about you. So if there's anybody that has a disagreement or they're upset, but there's someone else is like, that guy's a nice guy. He does this for the community. He did turkey he gave us 50 turkeys during Thanksgiving to the food shelter that
mm,
was producing foods. So we know this guy is good. So whatever experience you had, it basically quiets all the critics, as we would say. So doing good in the public is critical to silencing the critics because you're going to have them. I don't care what business you're in, you're going to get haters because
mm,
you can look at just politics an example. Like you're always going to have one side and the other, and they're always going to disagree. And they're going to hate whoever's over here and who's over here. You're just going to get that. So
mm,
in your business, it's the same thing. You have a customer, they come in, they're unhappy with whatever you did. You don't know what happened to them. They came in angry because maybe they found out their spouse was having an affair. You don't know, they could have just lost their job. Someone could have died. So unfortunately, they take out their anger on you and they go leave you a bad review.
mm,
Well, honestly, most people see that review and it's like, yeah, but Joe's such a nice guy. He does all this stuff for the community and he does great work. I've had my cars worked on there. So they sort of just ignore it. So it's
mm.
important that you're doing public relations in some degree, in some fashion, and you do marketing and you spend a budget and you hold to it. And if you can spend more, spend more.
Mm.
Hire a professional for sure.
Definitely. Is there a way that, a shop owner watching this right now, is there a way that they could start small and start? Because I know if they might be hearing this and thinking, wow, there's a lot that I should be doing. How do I start from the beginning and start small and, start getting that exposure out there, right? What's one actionable thing that they could do today, right? That could put them on the right path.
I think you got to do stuff that doesn't cost any money, right? It just
Mhm.
takes time. So it depends on what stage your shop is at, right? So if you're the owner and you're in the front office and you have no support, I think the first thing to do is business to business, join a business to business group.
Mhm.
Hopefully, it's large enough that can send you more work. That doesn't
Mhm.
cost you any money. Usually, they meet super early before your doors even open. I belong to several different ones. BNI is a professional run group where you get trained first. They train you on how to actually get a lead, give a lead, like all this stuff. It's pretty crazy. It is cost you a little bit more money per year, but they do weekly meetings, and usually those groups are bigger, 30 plus, and you could get leads every week from that.
Yeah.
Um, I think building some organic posts, getting some videos from customers, it takes you no time. You all have smartphones, and I suggest do not purchase an expensive camera when you're doing this because the analytics, the AI of social media knows that you're using a fancy camera and you're not going to get as many views. So all the training tells us to use your smartphone. And hey, the customer is picking up their car. You got 2 minutes, do a quick video.
Hmm.
Start building your library of organic material. So then when you can post it at night, you can post it. And hey, another happy customer from Gus's Collision Center.
Hmm.
And it's just a quick reel and post it. If you can do one or two of those a week, it's a start. If you're not doing, I guess there's a famous quote from Grant Cardone, and he says, if you're doing one or two posts or three posts a week, it's like throwing a brick into the Grand Canyon. Nobody's going to hear it, but you
Hmm.
got to start somewhere. So
Yeah.
any type of marketing you can do for free just takes a little bit of time, and that's business to business too. You can go out on a Saturday and start
Yeah.
knocking on doors. It does not have to be it does not have to be an insurance salesman. Our best leads, believe it or not, came from dentist offices and doctor's offices. Why do you think that is?
Maybe when they're after an accident, when they hit their face on a steering wheel, or is
Well,
that
who works at dentist offices and doctor's offices? Majority of the people that work there.
um wealthier people? I'm not sure what.
Women,
Oh yeah, definitely.
right? There's
Yeah.
always a woman receptionist. You never see a guy up there, right? So
Yeah.
you bring them cookies. Who doesn't like a chocolate chip cookie? Everybody likes chocolate chip cookies,
Hmm.
right? So bring the cookies. It can be in a, I've seen guys put them in baggies that you can see through it that are fancy, and they tie it and they put their cards tied to it, their business
Yeah.
cards, and they
Hmm.
just walk in and give them cookies. That's a great feature, but I like to see my box on the counter that
Hmm.
everyone is walking by. Everybody in the office is like, oh, cookies. I'll have
Hmm.
one. And
Yep.
we would put 8 cookies in the box, especially if it was a bigger office.
Hmm.
You know, we would try to put 10 in there because they're all talking. Like, who brought the
Hmm.
cookies? Oh, Body Best brought the cookies. You know, and you start a whole conversation.
Hmm.
In fact, one day I was leaving work and I'm driving home and I see somebody walking down the street with one of my boxes. They
Nice.
brought
Yeah.
the cookies home, right? So it's a rolling billboard, and it's like it's cookies.
Hmm.
So we actually surveyed it. This is another thing about marketing that I learned is you have to survey your customers. But one of the surveys were like around what can we deliver to them. We talked about cookies was one of them. We
Hmm.
talked about bagels. Um, I think it was brownies. We had like three or four different things we can put in the box, and it came back like with astounding. Like majority of people just said, "Yeah, cookies." Who doesn't like a chocolate chip cookie? Because you can't go peanut butter because of all the allergies,
Hmm.
and not everyone likes oatmeal. So it's like, you know what, chocolate chip. Who doesn't
Yeah.
like chocolate chip, right? So that's a good place to start. You can do it yourself. You can either do it in baggies to start the process. It just takes time. You can do it on a weekend. You don't have to do it during the week when you're working in the shop. That would be a start if you
Hmm.
have little money, but if you have some budget you're spending now on something, you need to look at your expenses and see where
Hmm.
can you cut something to add more to marketing. And
Hmm.
then you want to hire somebody, oh, maybe like you, and get them to do some ad buy on Meta, even if it's $100. Do something. Get
Hmm.
an ad up there, put some money there, and start promoting, and then start posting organic stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so if you can do 10 posts a day organically, you get a program later on. You can get a program. It doesn't cost you any money other than to have a program to manage this, where you can schedule the whole month, and these things
Hmm.
just go out, and people see you more and more.
Yeah.
And
I
that's the
know.
key, right?
Of course, yeah. Just any exposure. I mean, it could be, it's huge. And I know personally I mean, I know a lot of, I wouldn't recommend doing what's called a boosted post. That's what a lot of shop owners will
No.
start with. But actually running an ad, you can start with as little as, I mean, technically on Facebook, I believe they recently upped it, but you can start with as little as like $3 a day on Facebook, which
Yeah.
comes up to $90 a month. Um, just to put something out there, right? And
Yeah.
you'd be surprised, but like how effective a $5 a day campaign can be. I know we started with our advertising for $5 a day. And yeah, I mean, maybe it'll take a little bit longer, but I mean, if you wait 3, 4, 5 years to get started. I mean, but if you started, 5 years prior with a $5 a day campaign, you'll see the results. So starting
Yeah.
small, I know Ty Lopez, sort of in the same vein as um I'm blanking. Anyway, there's a quote by Ty Lopez. He said, "Do something even if it's the wrong thing," and that's like how I've approached a lot of things. Yeah, like just start,
Grant
right? Even if
Grant
it's
says that too, but Grant's read
yeah,
a lot of books. He
yeah,
got a lot of his data from the earlier guys that were very successful, and that's
mm,
how he built his company off guys like that did it, and he learned from them, and then he started building his empire.
mm,
But his biggest thing is the same kind of feature is trying to help people,
mm,
and he started his real estate club, helping people get into real estate, even though they can't afford it to buy their own place, but they can get in as an investor
mm.
and he's created a lot. But yeah, he'll be the first one to say any marketing is better than no marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you get data, you start to learn, right? Which is really which is great. I mean, that's the tangible part of it, but the other part, I mean, even if you want to get started giving cookies to some, local businesses and you're going to learn quickly what works and what doesn't. So that's the do something, even if it's the wrong thing. Just that's what I took from you here. Like just get started with something. Do it even if it's small, right? I think it's going to put you on the right path sooner than later. So yeah, that's great. Dino, was there anything you wanted to mention? I think we covered a lot about marketing here. I think this was awesome. Was there anything else that you wanted to say or mention before we ended this one?
I think a real quick comment is it's funny because we were talking about marketing and
Mm,
all the things, and I said you need to go into your expenses. I see a lot of guys spend money in marketing in the wrong direction. I
mm,
don't recommend a billboard. I've done billboards. They're great. They worked really good in Sonoma. They were really inexpensive. And they did. They got us business if you can afford it. But like I see shopping cart things. I did those too. I didn't know what I was doing, but you're out, you have a small public
mm.
and you could take that same money and go 10 times farther online.
Yeah.
So you got to look at your budget, what you're spending, cut it out, and just do meta and just do business to business, things that don't cost a lot of money, outside
Mm,
sales. But the thing I do want to mention is another, I don't know who quoted this, but this is what I was told in the very beginning. And because I was kind of stubborn in the beginning days of getting coaching
mm.
and arrogant. And I remember hanging up with my coach quite a few times going, that's not going to work for me. You don't know this town, click. And I
Yeah.
finally gave up and said, you know what? Let's just do it your way. And if you're wrong, which I think you're going to be wrong, we'll go back to my way. Well, my way wasn't working,
Mm,
right? For 17
mm,
years. But you know what you know, but you don't know what you don't know.
mm,
And so that leads into most people don't understand marketing. That's very true in any business. Even if you went to school and you got a marketing degree, they still don't know a lot about surveying and things specifically drilled into marketing. They might understand big corporation marketing,
mm,
TV commercials and stuff like that, but like the bare bones, the very simple stuff, a lot of them don't understand it to
mm,
a degree. Like how to survey your public and how to build an ad, because none of the stuff I ever had done had iTrail and had a word on there that spoke to that customer that you did quality work without saying quality and good service.
mm,
When I surveyed, what I found to be that word was clean.
mm.
It's funny. That was the word that popped up. So we would put on our promotion, the cleanest shop in town.
Nice. Yeah.
Not the fastest, not the cheapest, the cleanest shop in town. And that changed everything. So you got to know your public. So Dino's Leaders, that's what I do. I'm a coaching service, just like your marketing person to help people with their landing pages, which you
Mm,
need only need landing pages now. You don't need a website like we talked about
mm,
earlier. 80% don't go below the fold. So a good landing page, a good ad on Meta is all you need. And
mm.
then you need a coach.
Yeah, you need a coach. That's one thing I wanted to close with. Just if all this stuff is great and advice is awesome, education is awesome, but really I know that I mean I'm in the company we're in multiple coaching groups because we know how important it is to have that personalized advice, right? So a coach that has done it before, scaled this business, working in another business you can see and take from other shop owners as well. this is it's invaluable, right? So Dino's leaders, everybody, please go check it out, go reach out to Dino. Dino, where can people find you? Where can they reach out to you? Could you also tell them about the Facebook group? I know that there's a lot of value in there. So if you could tell everybody about Dino's leaders, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we have a Facebook group that's been around for a while because I had a lot of shop owners, and there's another friend of mine. His group is massive, but it's everybody, it's technicians and owners. And I felt like we needed a safe place for owners to talk about
Mhm.
wages, pay plans, and net profits. Like these are topics you don't really want the necessarily be comfortable on your employees because they don't need to know your business. They need to know that you're profitable and you're making a reasonable bit of money, like reasonable, fair, right? You
Mhm.
should make more than your employees because you're the one taking all the risks. So, no, Shop Owners Collaborate is the Facebook group.
Collision shop owners collaborate. Yes.
And no, Shop Owners Collaborate.
Gotcha.
I almost forget my own group. Um, yeah, Collision. Yeah, it is. Collision Shop Owners Collaborate. So that's how you can get into the group, and you can message me on Facebook. Um, I don't have a single page for Dino's leaders yet, but I'm also only consulting a small number of shops um, because I have other businesses and I really want to help. I'm a month-to-month service. I'm not a big contract. Prices range depending on how many people I'm coaching. So some shops have multiple owners. I have three brothers in New York and Manhattan. I'm actually their electrical contractors. And I can coach on any business because the technology that I got trained on is good
Mhm.
for any business. At least to get a lot of the basic foundation stuff in and get the owner, to a certain point where he's not doing all the day-to-day grind. But collision is my heart and soul. And there's a lot of single shop owners out there that are struggling and they need help. They need help in a lot of different facets. They need help just to get out of their own way sometimes because I was there. I experienced all of it. And this is what I want to do. My other businesses don't take as much of my time because I got into other businesses just because they're easy to manage. I don't
Mhm.
have to be there every day, and so yeah. So oh yeah, my cell phone is another better way to get a hold of me, and that's 707-479-3713. And my email, believe it or not, is dino.digiulio. So it's Dino dot Digiulio at HOTWORX.net. I don't have a Dino's Leaders email because I get all my email into that and it gets pushed over to Proton. It's a little bit more secure, but
Perfect.
those are many places to reach me.
Awesome.
Again,
Facebook, phone number, email, we got it all. So we'll
yep,
drop it in the description as well of this video. So
perfect.
if anybody wants to reach out, Dino's leaders, reach out to Dino. He has a very limited space for, how many people he can help. I know you told me there's a number that you need to stop at because it's only you.
Yeah,
So yeah, please everybody reach out. You're gonna get hands-on experience from a guy who's actually done it. So working less, making more. I mean, that's the dream. So
that's
we
the
want to get
part.
you there, yeah, as quickly as possible. It's gonna be that's great. So I mean, this has been incredible, Dino. We want to get you on for another one too. I would love to ask you more about cycle times, organization, shop building, things like that. That's gonna be great.
Yeah,
So
all fun.
yeah, we'll do it. I mean, this has been awesome. Thank you very much for hopping on, and yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video.
All right.
All
Thank you
right.
guys.